Hello students, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are watching this from. Yeah, so my name is Evaristo Kauma. Yeah, a physics tutor at CBU. Yes, so if you need any lessons, online lessons, you know, please kindly reach out to me on the number or WhatsApp me 0766 50 94, or just make a call. I'll be able to assist you. Right, so if you have any questions, anything that you want from me, kindly reach out to me 0766 50 94 75, and just make sure that you do you subscribe, you share, and you just like the video and comment. If you have any questions, you can also just comment down in the comment section. I'll be able to answer your question immediately. Yeah, so previously, we've covered dot product and also how to handle the unit vectors. All right. We also looked at some questions. Now, today, we are just going to focus on vector product. Our main interest for today, it's vector product, right? So what is this vector product? This vector product is also called what? Cross product. As you can see here, the notation, we have A cross B, right? So this is not A times B, because once you say A times B, then you are talking about what? Dot product. So the way you handle dot product of vectors is totally different from the way you handle vector product or cross product. So to handle any question using vector product or cross product, you need to use the determinant method. So very soon I'm going to show you how to use determinant method to answer exam questions. And sometimes they will just say find this, so it's up to you to know the meaning of that. So once you see this A cross B, it means they're asking you to use what? Vector product, or they're asking you to cross the two vectors. It's either in 2 dimensions or in 3 dimensions. When I say 2 dimensions, I mean it has only 2 components, x and y, or I units and the j units. If I say 3 dimensions, it means it has 3 components, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. That's what it means. In terms of the units, it means it has I units, j, and k. I refers to the x-axis, j refers to the y-axis, and z refers to the what? To the k-axis, right? So z refers to the k-axis. So what is now vector product? So vector product is a binary operation on 2 vectors. 2 vectors only, right? So 2 vectors only. I'm not saying 3 vectors here. They are saying 2 vectors. So that means dot product and vector product is only applicable on 2 vectors. So you must take note of this way, of this one here, this statement here, 2 vectors only. We can have vector A and vector B. Now, this vector product or cross product, mainly it's applicable in 3-dimensional space, meaning it has 3 components, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. That's what I mean here. Now, when you find the dot product, or the vector product or the cross product, the resulting vector is perpendicular to the vectors that you crossed. All right? So let's say if you are given vector A and vector B, the answer that you are going to get is always orthogonal or perpendicular. When I say orthonormal, I mean perpendicular. Sometimes they'll say the 2 vectors are orthogonal. It means the angle is 90 degrees. You must write this down. When I say orthogonal, it means the angle is what? 90 degrees. So when I say orthogonal, it means perpendicular, all right? So these are the terms that they are going to use. Or the angle is what? 90 degrees, all right? So if they say the two vectors are orthogonal to each other or they are perpendicular to each other, it means the angle is 90. I hope you don't have questions here. So if you look at the notation, that we have here, this is the notation here, A cross B. So they will say find A cross B. Don't read it as A times B. No. Once you say A times B, it means you are going to find the dot product. And you know how to find dot product. You multiply the coefficient of I plus the coefficient of J plus the coefficient of K alone. Then you add. The answer that you get has no units like I, J, K. It is the answer that you get results in a scalar or just a number. But this is called a vector product because once you cross the two vectors, the answer that you get is a vector. That's why it's called the vector product, because the answer that you get is a vector. And you know a vector has both magnitude and direction. So direction can be I or J or K. So for example, you can have 3I. This means this is a vector, all right? If you just say 3 without anything, it means this is a scalar. And we're having 3 as a number because we found a dot product. But if you find 3I, it means to find 3I, it means they crossed the two vectors. So once you cross the two vectors, the answer that you get is always perpendicular to both of the original vectors. Which are these original vectors? Vector A and vector B. Hope you understand. Let's move on. So input two vectors A and B. The result is what? A new vector. So this new vector is C. And this new vector C is perpendicular to A and B. Right? Hope you understand. Now, let's try to look at the question. Let's try to look at this exam question and see how we can actually handle this question. How we are going to handle it. We are going to apply whatever I said to this exam question, this session of paper. All right. Test 1. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you leave your question in the comment section. I'll be able to answer the question without failing. Make sure that you leave the question in the comment section. So if you have any question, make sure that you comment the question. Don't forget to like and subscribe. All right. If you want more questions, my inbox. You want physical lessons? We are the Brainfuels team. We are always found on campus, CBU, Brainfuels tutorials. All right. Yeah, if you want our physical lessons, it's 400 kwacha per term, meaning that after 3 months you pay only 400 kwacha. But for now, we are doing our online lessons. You can just pay 150. Then when you open school on 23rd of November 2025, we are going to have physical lessons. Then you can finish up the 250 remaining, right? So we are the best team in school, Brainfuels tutorials. So don't forget to to follow us. Now let's look at this question here. This is our interested question. This is our question that we are interested in. This is the question that we are interested in. We are going to answer all these questions. How many marks? 4 plus 3, 3, 3. So 9 plus 4. We have 13 marks there. All right? Free 13 marks. Free 13 marks. Right? So don't be scared. So as you can see from here, what does it mean? A cross B. It means find the vector product. So I'm going to show you how to find a vector product. And in this case, they're saying find a vector that is perpendicular to A and B. That's what they're saying in other words. Sometimes they'll say find a vector that is perpendicular to A and B. Sometimes they'll just give you this notation. You must know what it means. It means find a vector that is perpendicular, or find a cross product or dot or vector product. Now, to find cross product or vector product, you need to use determinant method, which we are going to learn. But before we go there, let's look at question C. Our first question in this paper. For what value of lambda, this symbol is called lambda. For what value of lambda, and it's physics, it means wavelength. Those of you who did physics 5054, and also I don't know that other code, general chemistry, physics, science, you did standing waves, mechanical waves, longitudinal waves, all those types of waves. All right. Examples like water waves, sound waves, rarefaction, compression regions. Yeah, so this is wavelength. Yeah, so for what value of lambda are the vectors, this vector and vector perpendicular? So we have vector A. Let's just label this one as vector A and this vector B, or vector 1, vector 2. So we have 2i minus j plus 2k, and we also have 3i plus 2 lambda j, right, perpendicular. So look, we have something missing here in vector 2. What unit is missing? Component is missing. Here we have x component, y component, z component. Here we have x component, y component, j, and k is missing. That means we are going, just to complete it, we are going to put 0k, right? 0k. Because it is missing, it is not there. So just to maintain the order, we are going to, to substitute 0k, because 0 means nothing. All right. Yeah, so let's now start solving. So we have, let's just label them as vector A, 2i minus j plus 2k. So we have vector B. So don't cry, Bafresha, don't cry. You clear. Though the cutoff point will be maybe 24. Those who want to do medicine, those who want to do engineering, yeah, you guys, you need to be strong. That's why you, whether you like it or not, you need to attend Brainfuse tutorials, whether we like it or not, because this year it's gonna be massive, big event. Rihanna is coming, Justin Bieber, Drake, everyone is coming. It's gonna be a big event. Huh? So vector B, let's say that this is vector B, 3i plus 2 lambda, that is what we are looking for, j. Now remember, one component is missing. Here we have I, here we have j, here we have k. But in vector B, we have, in the second vector here, we have 3i, 2 lambda j. We are looking for this. We don't have k in this, so we are going to put plus 0k, just to maintain the order. So plus 0k. All right. So remember that z-axis I, what's happening? Why? Okay. So we had A equals to 2i minus j plus 2k. Vector B, we have 3i plus 2 lambda j plus 0k. So now they are saying, for what value of lambda, this one, are these two vectors, vector A and vector B, perpendicular? So you need to know a certain property. Perpendicular vectors, their dot product is 0. right? When two vectors are perpendicular, you should write this down. When two vectors are perpendicular, their dot product is what? 0. When two vectors are perpendicular, their dot product is what? 0. Remember what I said about dot product. So this is the application of dot product. Though today we are looking at the vector product, but let's also just try to answer it. All right, we practice more. I said that dot product, for dot product, A dot, A dot B equals to what? The magnitude of A times the magnitude of B. If you don't understand this, just go back and revise the video, lesson 2. You'll see this. B, magnitude of B times cos theta, right? So this is what it means when they say dot product. It means the magnitude of A dot B equals to magnitude of A times magnitude of B cos what? Theta. Now, if these two vectors are perpendicular, if vector A dot vector B are perpendicular, it means the angle is what? 90. So theta here is 90. And for those of you that know that knows calculus or trigonometry, what does perpendicular mean? 90. So what is cos 90? Anyone who knows? What is cos 90? You know that cos 90 is 0? You know that? So you know that cos 90 is 0. You know that. Try on your calculator. You see that cos 90 is 0. So if cos 90 is 0, because these two vectors are perpendicular, then we are going to have something like, A dot B equals to magnitude of A times magnitude of B times 0. And what is 0 times everything? Everything becomes 0. So we're going to have A dot B equals to what? 0. And this is why we say when two vectors are perpendicular, their dot product is what? Equals to 0. Now, I hope you understand. So when two vectors are perpendicular, it means their dot product is what? 0. When two vectors are perpendicular, their dot product is what? 0. When two vectors are perpendicular, their dot product is what? 0. So that means we are going to multiply this times that, since we are talking about dot product, so we're going to multiply the coefficient of I times the coefficient of I plus the coefficient of that plus times the coefficient of that plus the coefficient of that times the coefficient of that plus the coefficient of that times the coefficient of that, right? So coefficient of I, you multiply them, you add. Coefficient of J, you multiply them, you add. Coefficient of K, you multiply them, you add. That's what you're going to do. That's the meaning of dot product. So you know that. Solution. So you know that A dot B equals to 0 if perpendicular, all right? If two vectors are perpendicular. So this means we need to find the dot product, all right? We need to find dot product. So when two vectors are perpendicular, their dot product equals to 0. So let's multiply the coefficient of I plus the coefficient of J plus the coefficient of what? K. So now, we are going to multiply coefficient of I in A times coefficient of I in B. So 2 times 3. So what is 2 times 3? You're going to have 2 times 3 plus, what is the coefficient of j in A? -1, right? Coefficient of j in B, 2 lambda, all right? So that means -1 times 2 lambda plus, what is the coefficient of k in A? 2 times the coefficient of k in B. It was not there, so it is 0, right? So plus 2 times 0 is what? 0. Now, once we do that, let's just simplify. So everything we are going to equate it to what? Equate everything to 0, because you know that the dot product of two vectors that are perpendicular, the answer is always equal to 0. So 2 times 3 is what? 6. Negative, positive times negative, negative. 1 times 2 lambda, 2 lambda, plus 0 equals to what? 0. I hope you can see that it's simple. So we will take this one the other side, so it will be 6 equals to 2 lambda, and then we can find the value of lambda by dividing by 2 over 2, right? So lambda equals to what? 6 over 2 is what? 3. So the answer is 3. So the value of lambda is 3 when A and B are perpendicular. Easy stuff, eh? Yeah, very easy. So let's look at the second question now. Let us look at the second question. So the second question is saying if vector A and B, we are given vector A and vector B, find A cross B, right? Now, here is the issue. We have an issue here. We have a tissue here. Nama organs, nama cells. Huh? Don't get that. Take a break, Mundwand. So, let me tell you something. When I came here to CBU, I was scared. I was so scared of this so-called giant, intimidating, scary physics, PH 110. We had a lot of rumors. And because of the bad rumors that I had, when we wrote test 1, I almost failed. I felt like giving up. I thought I believed whatever everyone said was true regarding to physics, how dangerous physics is, and it's true, it is. Now I thought I was a failure and I was just a dumb cell, not dumb cell, yeah, dumb cell, dumb tissue. That's how I was feeling myself. But now a good friend of mine, told me to say, physics not about geniuses, or those people who always wear lab coats, or those people with the instance hair. No, physics is just about people who are so curious. If you are curious, then physics is for you. So don't just give up. Just laugh, solve more questions, practice. You'll see how simple these things are. Be it physics, be it chemistry, be it mathematics. You'll see how these courses are. They are very, very simple, I'm telling you. They are only hard if you neglect them, if you are not practicing them, if you are not using the right materials, if you are not attending right tutorials. All right, it's better you attend tutorials than attending classes, right? Because in classes, it's just overcrowded, and also not conducive, and also the lecturers, you find bad lecturers here. Wait, so coming back to the question, find A cross B. So we have vector A, 2i plus 3j plus 3j plus 4k plus 4k. We also have vector B, yeah, nindo alechfine, I minus j plus k. Find a cross b, meaning that cross these two vectors. So vector product, we find it using determinant method. All right. So let's look at what you did in grade 12, how to find the determinant. Right? Determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix, right? Determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix. Let's have matrix A, matrix M. Let's say A, B, C, D. This is our matrix. Now the question is, find the determinant of M, det M, all right? Determinant of M. You know that determinant is actually multiplying these two minus the product of these two. Simple. So that means A times D minus B times C. That is the determinant of the matrix. And that's why you say AD minus BC, right? This is a simple calculation involving, 2 by 2 matrix. So to find determinant of the 2 by 2 matrix, this is what you do. Product of these minus product of these. That's all. It's very simple. Now, it means we only have two, we are multiplying two things here which are in two dimensions. Like let's say this is vector A and this is vector B. This is x, y, x, y. So when you are multiplying two vectors in two dimensions, this is what you do. But what if now you have x, y, z? How can you cross these? That is what you are going to do. Right? It's very simple. So now let's look at determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. Not a 2 by 2, but a 3 by 3 matrix. So let's look at determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. So determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. Right? So determinant of a 3 by 3 matrix. So let's say we have matrix M. Determinant, matrix is represented using what? Smooth brackets, right? Always remember that. Determinant is denoted or represented inside in smooth brackets. So let's say we have A, no, let me just use numbers. Yeah, let's say maybe we have 2, 1, 3. We have maybe 4, 3, 2. We also have maybe 5, 1, 6. This is our matrix. And you can see that this is 3 by 3 because we have how many rows? 1, 2, 3. How many columns? 1, 2, 3. So this is 3 by 3 matrix because we have 3 rows and we have 3 columns. So the columns are vertical, the rows are horizontal. All right. So we are saying 3 by 3 matrix because we have 3 rows and 3 columns. So now, how do you find 3 by 3? How do you find the determinant of this matrix? And what we are doing here is what you are going to learn under matrix, right? Yeah, you learn the same under matrix, like using Cramer's rule, using inverse method to solve simultaneous equations in 3 dimensions. You are going to learn that in term 2, right? So physics is mathematics. So let's find the determinant of this. Let us find the determinant of this. Now, the first step that you need, the first step, you know, the first step that you need is putting, you know, positive here, negative here, and positive there. All right. This is the first step that you need. You need to put positive there in the first column. You know, all these are supposed to be positives. In the second column, all these are supposed to be negative. In the third column, all these are supposed to be positive. So positive, negative, positive. All right. Hope you are following. I just hope you are following now. Just hope you are following. I just hope you are following. So if you have any questions, kindly uh, comment. Just comment in the comment section if you have any questions. If you have any questions, maybe let me do this simple one. Where we have, let's say determinant of A, maybe you understand. Positive, negative, positive. Huh? Let me say vector A is positive I. This is vector A. So this is J and this is K. All right. So let's say maybe vector A has 2, 3, 4. Vector B has, 6, 1, 2. Now the question is, find the cross product of vector A and vector B. All right. So what you are going to do is, you are going to stand in the first column, right? You are going to stand in the first column. When you stand in the first column, hide everything in the first row, right? So you are going to hide everything here, right? And focus on this. As you can see, when you focus on this, you are going to have 2 by 2 matrix, right? As you can see, you are going to remain with 3, 2, 4, and 1. If you stand in the first column, hide the first row here, and you are going to remain with that. Hope you are able to see what is happening here. You stand here, hide this, focus on that. I hope you can follow. Stand here, hide this, focus on the remaining. Stand here, hide this, focus on that. And you can see that you are remaining with a 2 by 2 matrix. All right. So let's find the product of that minus the product of that. That's how we do, 2 by 2 matrix. So determinant of M of cross product of M equals to what? So we are standing here. So we are going to hide this and you are going to focus on that. So 3 times 2. So we are going to have 3 times 2. Basically, it's positive. Right? So after you find the 2 by 2 matrix, the answer that you get, you multiply by the what? By the positive. Right? So that's why I've put positive here. 3 times 2 minus what? Oh, you put what? You multiply by this. So the answer that you get here, the answer that you are going to get here, you multiply by positive what? I. So what is, if you stand here, you hide this, you focus on that. So what is the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix? 3, 4, 1, 2. So 3 times 2 minus 4 times 1, right? 4 times 1. This whole thing here represents I times positive I, all right? So now, 3 times 2 is what? 6. So 6 minus 4, 2. So we have 2i. Next, stand in the second column now. Next, stand in the second column. Now, next, just a bit. So next, let's stand. First of all, we stored here, and we had to hide this and focus on that. Next, let's stand here. All right, let's stand in the second column. So we have 1 there. So if you stand in the second column, you are going to hide this. Always you'll be hiding the first row, right? So let's stand here. So we are using determinant method to find, to find the cross product, right? And these are the steps that you need to follow. You stand here and hide the first row. So if you stand here and you hide this, I hope you can imagine. Physics about imagining. Imagine what are you remaining with? Hope you can see what's happening on the screen. You stand here, you hide this. You stand here, you hide. What numbers are remaining? Can you imagine those numbers? We have 2 6 remaining and 4 2 remaining. So that means we are going to find, if you stand here, you hide this, you are going to find the dot product or the 2 by 2 matrix of that, the determinant of the 2 by 2 matrix of that. Hope you can see what numbers are remaining. 2 6 4 2. So now the first one we are going to add, we are going to say minus. Why? Because in the second column it is minus j. All right, minus, what's the determinant of that? Numbers that are remaining. 2 times 2, 2 times 2 is what? 4. Right? So we have 4 minus 4 times 6. If you stand here, we are remaining with 4 and 6. 4 times 6. So what is 4 times 6? 24. So minus 24. What do you put? You multiply by j. Right? So j here. So 4 minus 24. What is 4 minus 24? What is 4 minus 24? So I have 2i. 4 minus 24 is what? Minus negative 20. So negative times negative, positive. So we are going to say plus 20j. So plus 20j. So we have now resolved the second one. So we are remaining with the last column. That's why I'm slow here, because I need you to follow the steps. Now we are going to stand. Now we are going to stand in the second column now. We are going to stand in the third column, the last column, and we are going to hide everything. Have you seen? I hope you can see what's happening on the screen. We stand here, we hide this. 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 What numbers are remaining? What numbers are remaining? What numbers are remaining? 2, 1, 3, and 6. So these are the numbers that are remaining. So let's find a 2 by 2 matrix of that determinant. So we're going to say 2 times 1 minus 3 times 6. So what is 2 times? So in the last column, as you can see, we add positive. Then the answer that you get, you multiply by k. So 2 times 1. So what is remaining is, this is matrix remaining 2 by 2. So 2 times 1 is 1 minus 3 times 6. So the answer we added, so 2 times 1 is 2 minus 3 times 6, 18. You multiply by k. All right. So we are going to have 2i plus 20j. Now, what is 2 minus 18? Negative 16. Eh? Negative times positive, negative 16. Negative. What unit do you put? K. Because you have I, J, and K. Because K is in the last column. So, K. So this is our answer. This is the vector that is perpendicular. Oh, sorry. That is that is perpendicular to A and B. Because we said when you you find a cross product of two vectors, the answer that you get is always perpendicular to the original vectors of A and B, right? So why is it called vector product? It is called vector product, as you can see, when you cross these two vectors, you cross vector A and vector B. What answer are you getting? Is it a number or a vector? You are getting a vector again because it has I, J, and K. That's why it's called a vector product, because the answer that you get is a vector. If you can compare with dot product, the answer that you are getting is just an original number, all right? And when we start meeting physically, I'll explain why we obtain ijk when you cross product and why we obtain just a number when we find the dot product. I'll show you on the board once we open it. So don't worry, I just want you to have ideas of what is ahead of you, all right? So just play the video again and make sure that you go through and practice some other questions. So let's see if you can try this question. I know I didn't answer it for the reason. So try this question. Try this question now. If vector A, you are given vector A and vector B, find A cross B. I use different numbers, but use the same method that I've used, right? Find this question. A cross B, use determinant method. The same way I was doing it, do it as well. So have a good day. Good night and good evening.